Welcome to Joy Unfiltered. I'm Rachel, and this is a podcast about joy. Not the shiny, performative kind, not the everything happens for a reason kind. This is joy as a strategy, a way to stay steady when life feels loud, a way to stay human when things are hard, a way to lead, love, and live without burning out or checking out. Some episodes will be just me. Some will be honest conversations with people who have lived their way into a deeper, truer joy. No fixing, no bypassing, just real stories, real tools, and room to breathe. Let's get into it. Right. Welcome back to another episode of Joy Unfiltered, and you are all in for a really big treat today. I have known our guest today for, I was trying to count, but over 20 years, maybe 25 years.
Yeah.
And she is this amazing woman that you are going to get to know all about today. So I am going to read her bio, and then, like I said, you are just going to be delighted with today's conversation. But I have Brenda Rigney with me today. She is a business coach, community builder, and founder of the Aligned AF community, which I belong to, and it is amazing, where she helps midlife women entrepreneurs turn their expertise into scalable, recurring revenue. After a 27-year corporate career with her and her own midlife reinvention, Brenda built multiple thriving Skool communities with over 12,000, amazing 12,000 members by focusing on visibility, relationships, and sustainable business models, not hustle. She is the creator of bringing summits to Skool, which we'll talk a little bit about today, and is known for helping women productize. I should be able to speak today, but maybe that's a little bit about midlife. My brain is a little bit in perimenopause. Productize their knowledge and grow engaged email lists and communities, and leverage AI, which is really cool, to build businesses that support their life, which is so important. So let me say that again, and leverage AI to build businesses that support their life, not consume it.
Yeah.
Brenda is an empty nester who resides in Vancouver and dreams of having a pied-a-terre in Paris. So welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Very fun.
Super glad you are here today. So let's, you know what, we're not just going to beat around the bush. We're going to dive right in. Let's talk all about this space that you and I are both in, this midlife space, and figuring out like where we are, how we're supposed to be, and maybe we'll even start there, that how we're supposed to be. I'm doing that in air quotes. Is that even a thing? And how has that perhaps like misguided us by the supposed to?
Yeah, as soon as you even said, how are we supposed to be? I kind of felt like a little bit of a fluttering in my chest, like a little bit of a trigger in the sense of like, yeah, like who wrote the rule book? And before we press record, it's just like I can go back in time and remember these like distinct conversations, I don't know, through grandparents, aunts and uncles. And my caveat is I know they meant well, but really asking like an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old girl, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to marry? Where do you want to live? How many children do you want to have? Like I'm still like going to the corner store and buying licorice like for 10 cents because you could do that back then. And you could walk to the corner store without your parents wondering where you were, like, like GPS around your ankle. And like I used to be able to do those things. And like to have your whole life figured out at 8 or 12 years old, like there's nothing wrong with like mentorship and like leaning people towards like career choices or school choices. But gosh, like, to like define it back then and then to like then have to follow that checklist until like you're 40 and then just be satisfied with that. And I feel, and it's interesting because this whole midlife, I mean, it's like we're not the first generation to go through midlife, but we have to go back to like our mothers and our grandmothers, very different world, very different sort of work culture. I think the Gen X, like, our age group really defined what work looked like, balancing life, family, jobs, all those type of things, climbing the corporate ladder, and define that for yourself if you were in education or healthcare or wherever you like wound up being, or if you were a stay-at-home mom and like that definition of that because you saw all your friends and colleagues continue on with their career and build out these like vast LinkedIn profiles and you're a stay-at-home mom and thinking that's an outdated profession and not compensated for. So I mean I think it's kind of a quandary. I'm sure there's probably some of your listeners that are going, yeah, I'm in that right now, or I was in that, or I'm about to go into that space. And it's really concerning and it's really scary. But at the beautiful time, I think there's a lot of us that are going through this. And so part of it, like you said in my bio, like being in community and talking about it with other people and not feeling you have to have it all figured out. But if that whole feeling of like how we were supposed to be or wound up being triggers you in some sense, right? Makes you feel nervous or apprehensive. Like lean into that. Like I invite you to lean into that and, be curious.
I love that. And it's so interesting, Brenda, when you were talking, the one thing that, and I don't know if I thought about it in this way before, again, beauty of community to talk about some of these things, or two,
Mhm.
is one, our mothers were the first women, were not the first women, but really that first generation of women who were in the workforce. So
Yes,
they
as
were
like a
figuring,
traditional sense. Yeah.
right. So they were pioneers in figuring out how to be in the workforce, not thinking about retirement or celebration phase or whatever we call this, what might happen next. But
Mhm.
the Gen X generation then is that first generation to not have to pioneer the beginning of it, but pioneer kind of this middle piece of it, because we have
Yeah.
the capacity and the wherewithal to not have to think about how do I get into the workforce, but what do I do now? And I think the beauty of that, as well as you talked about community, is that we're this generation that is open enough, or there's some like sense, some permission that we're open enough to have the conversation. We're having conversation about the physical things about perimenopause, and it's okay to say I am having a hot
Yes.
flash, or those things that our mothers didn't have that ability to have those open conversations.
Yeah. I mean, fertility, perimenopause, like all those questions, right? Have been like sparked. And it's not like those issues didn't exist for women two, three
Right.
generations ago. Like people have been having miscarriages for centuries, right? We just never knew about it. No one ever talked about it. And it was always like shushed away. And women were going through perimenopause. Like we've always gone through perimenopause. It's not like a new thing. It's not like a pandemic or something. It sometimes feels like that right now. But it's like, can we just shut down the planet because I'm going through perimenopause?
Right. Yes, yes, yes.
Can everyone just like leave me alone for the next 2 years while I'm going through perimenopause, or next 10 years while I'm going through
10, yeah.
perimenopause? Um, but yeah, so I think, our generation is definitely a lot more vocal. We're asking for things. We're taking our healthcare. If we're not, please, invitation again, take your healthcare into your own hands. Doesn't mean you have to follow everything that's been talked about on Instagram, but you need to go into your doctor's office with a notepad and questions and you stay until they get answered or you find another doctor, right?
Right,
Like you need
right.
to get those questions answered. And it's not always about just going on a pill that's going to make you feel better. It's like learning about how your body works. And so I think like we feel a lot more empowered to do those things because I think we had the education, we had access to the education, we had access to the job opportunities, didn't always get the promotions, didn't always get the pay rates, like all those things that we were fighting and battling with, like our mothers did before us, and hopefully paved the way for younger generations, like my two daughters, where they won't have to like see a job overlooked for them just because of their sex. And so I think that is a good thing. But at the same time, I think a lot of us are exhausted playing this part
Mhm.
of leading a story that didn't always fit with us. Like, was that it? Was that the only option? Because I think we still have that overhanging story from the last generation of we should just be grateful. Like, you should just be grateful for what you have.
Because
And,
we fought so hard to give this to you, so just
yes,
be. And I again love
we
my
fought
mom.
so hard,
Yes.
and they did because I look at like I'm fourth generation Canadian. Like my family came over from Ireland, Ukraine, Scotland. At the time Europe was going through like hell. Revolutions, then into world wars. So everything, depressions, economic ruin, all that's starting over again with nothing, family loss, all those things, right? And just the stories. of, starting up again. And so you should be grateful for what you have. Um, Absolutely. Thank you, past generations, for, paving the way and taking all those risks so that I could actually be born and have a life in relative comfort, I would say. Like, I'm privileged that
Yep.
way, relative comfort, again, access to education, job opportunities, good cities to live in, those type of things, access to people that could help me in my career. But that fear of like, the next war is coming and we should all just be grateful and like hang on to whatever we have, it permeates your nervous system, right? And it creates this
Yes.
doubt and this sort of scarcity, and lack of risk taking, and I think this is where we're in this beautiful intersection right now, I think, as midlife women, where we still may have kids at home. It might be empty nesters. Hello, that's me now. But they still call me like a desperate hour, 9 o'clock at night. You need to help me with this. It's like, okay, let's work it back. Relationships forming, relationships ending, not just romantic partners, life partners, marriages, but also friendships. Like,
Mhm.
I've had friendships like with women that I've known for 10, 15 years, and they just fizzle off. But then others that have been around for like 35 years just still going strong, like have managed to like ride the waves of change and stuff, and still going strong. So I think it's just this beautiful intersection with all these changes that potentially happen. And this is the time, instead of, I think, sitting back and wondering when the next script is or someone that's going to tell us what to do next, we have this opportunity to redefine it. And redefine, I think, like for me, where I support my members in my community is around business. Like, you can create a business on whatever you want. Like you mentioned, the word productize your experience is, what do you know? Like, you've been on the planet for what, 52 years, 47 years, 65 years? Like, you know a lot of stuff. I like to say shit, but
Right.
anyways, I don't
But
know
you
if we
can
can
say
swear
it.
to podcasts.
It all goes,
Like,
all
you
goes
know
in
a
this
lot of
podcast. So
stuff. And even if out of those like 35 years or 40 years you were a stay-at-home mom, you still know how to manage a household, finances, grow human beings. Like,
right.
could you coach? Could you mentor somebody else? And do you need to have like 15 frameworks on and certifications on how to do that? No.
Yeah.
Start a business.
So, okay. So let's say I am one of those women that are listening to the podcast and I'm feeling some of the things that you're feeling, like all the
Mm.
shoulds on me, and I'm feeling burnt out and I'm feeling frazzled. What are some questions that I can ask myself? And you can go personal or professional. But you talked about, okay, we've had this script, we don't have a script anymore. But if I'm going
Mhm.
to write a script, I need to start with some self-reflection. So where's that place to start? Or maybe
Yeah.
give your example of how you did it or how you coach the women that we work with.
Yeah, so here's what I have done. And then now I'm like rewriting the script again. Because, I mean, one of the things you know about me is that I just went through a big breakup in my life with my life partner. So I was divorced, raised my kids, and then found my life partner, thought he was the one. And we were just going to like sail off into the sunset together and do all the stuff that we planned on doing. And that ended very abruptly. Well, it's not even been a couple of months. It's literally been like, yeah, maybe a month and a half. Um, and so old Brenda, like up until probably like December 27th, when we broke up, 2025, would have been like, okay, you need to have your vision, your values, your goals, come up with a plan. Because, I come from the business world. Like, we would have formulated massive strategies, but now I'm like a solopreneur and I coach solopreneurs. So I'm not talking about 87 strategies. I'm talking about like one or two, and like working through those. And I still fundamentally believe in those type of frameworks because that's just how I've grown up in business and it works for me. And I've seen $80 million businesses as well as like, $2,000 a month businesses function in this way and be good. But I still think there's like a missing component. And I bring it in every now and then. And this is, I know, where you can relate to it, and probably some of your audience can relate to it as well, is putting your body first.
Hmm.
Like, your body knows, like your body has the record. It knows everything about you, everything. And it knows how you react to sadness, to fatigue, to malnourishment, and that could be mental, tummy wise, like physical. It knows everything. And you've fed it all this data for however long you've been on the planet. So listen to it and listen to what it needs, and it will guide you, I think, on that next step. And yes, there are tons of books and journals and coaches out there that help people walk through those questions and those steps. But for me, it's putting my body first. And somewhere leading up to that breakup, and I don't want to say somewhere, I knew exactly when it was. So we broke up on December 27th, but a year and a half prior to that, my body was not strong anymore. Like I was emotionally exhausted. I was struggling with insomnia. My face was breaking out all the time. I was gaining weight, and not like in a good way. I knew I was gaining weight. I was eating the wrong foods, all those type of things. I wasn't like caring for my body the way I should be. And so, for me, it's just been getting back into that practice. And then when my body feels great, like I was telling you about a workout that I did this morning, have a little cry during my workout, but it feels really good. And then it's like clarity happens, right? So do I need to have like the 50 questions to get me through from step A to step B? It's actually like, no, my body knows exactly what I need to do next.
So how did you slow, because I 1,000% agree. How did you slow down enough to listen to your body? And how do you find that space where you actually trust the signals that your body is given to you? Because I think that sometimes, I mean, because I believe you, and I do think that our bodies keep the score. Our
Yeah.
bodies, I mean, our bodies are smart. They're telling us things all the time, but we have not yet, not some of us have not yet developed that really close relationship with our bodies. So how do we
Mhm.
begin that relationship, or what did you do to start to listen to your body?
Um, get off social media. For one thing. I mean, it's just like we talk about AI, like in my bio, you said like, AI that like helps you with your life and your business. There are lots of things that are coming out with AI, social media all the time, right? Like on new ways of doing things. And I think, again, like your body knows intuitively what to do. So instead of diverting to other people and even now artificial people,
Right, right, right.
because you don't
True.
even know if that person even said that in some cases. Like I
Or
was
if it's
watching
real.
something on Instagram the other day and I'm like they were talking about Tai Chi, how Tai Chi is better than walking. And I was just like, are those like real people? No, those are AI generated people talking about it.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's not true stuff, but I was just like, huh, because go to malls, you see people doing Tai Chi all over the place, right? So it's just like, and I came from retail, you know that. And
Yeah.
so it's like I'd always like go to malls in the morning in my 20s and I'd see all these like older people not my age, like doing Tai Chi in malls. And I'm like, oh, and so I was seeing something on it. And I was just like, these aren't even real people talking about the benefits of Tai Chi. But so my thing is like get off social media. Um, Start slow, right? Like it's kind of like even when I say, oh, I'm getting back into like working out, I'm not like running a marathon this week.
Right.
Even if it's just like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I walk my dog every day. Because it's really easy just to kind of default to, especially you're going through a breakup or a loss in something. And that's the other thing, this beautiful intersection of our life. Like I have people in my network, in like my friend network and my family network that are in my age that are starting to pass away, right? Illness is taking over.
Yes. Right.
Did you know that Joe just got cancer? Did you know that he just lost his wife? And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's not people in our 80s and our 90s, it's people in my 50s.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not about sitting on the couch and then waiting for some radical transformation to happen. It's just daily steps, one step forward. And again, I'm not keeping track of it. My body's keeping track of it in the sense of, did I sleep a little bit better tonight? Did I you know, reach for, more protein food versus like another piece of toast or something like that in the morning, right? Like, am I just, because I'm caring about how my body feels, I'm more in tune with it, then I just start doing the work that I want to do. So some people need a little bit more structure, and I get that. So someone's listening going, no, no, I really want those questions, Brenda. I really want the steps in the framework. And I'm like, yeah, they're all over the place. You can go to Etsy, you can go to Skool, you can go to like LinkedIn, like anywhere you like to hang out and type in self-improvement checklist, you will find it,
They're
right?
there.
Like those books have been around for years. Like they came out in the 60s, 70s. So someone's always got something better. Someone's always got their way, their framework. And I totally agree with all of that. But also at the same time, like start redeveloping your intuition again. Because I think that also is something that we've suppressed, right? We followed the checklist up until this point. We followed someone else's framework, but our body knows. And so just listen to it. But it takes a little bit of practice and you got to like shut out the noise. The first noise is this thing, is your phone, is social media. So disengage, stop following, whatever, turn it off, put it on the top shelf of your bookshelf and leave it there for 2 hours and those type of things. Like again, gradually ease your way into it. But it's almost like a bit of a detox from those old habits that we had before.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think two things that I think are important that you said is one, that start small, start
Hmm.
slow, do something, listen. And I think for me, sometimes listening to my body is, and it does include doing some meditation, being quiet, going for a walk without a minute, because I think, oh, I'll go for a walk and I'll listen to a podcast so I get to multitask and I'll think, oh, I'm doing something really good. Well, yes, I am, but I'm really still thinking about all these other, or somebody else
Yeah.
is putting information into my head. And so
Yeah.
doing some of those things, you're right, like leave the phone at home and just go out for, what do they call it now? Is it a naked walk or is it they call it something, just like go out without technology.
Oh,
I think
okay.
is
Got it. Yeah. I'm
important.
like, it's a
But
little cold here
yes,
right now, but
yeah, don't actually be naked. Like,
it's a little cold right now. Talk to me in the summer about naked walks. But anyways,
yeah,
um,
we're both in the northern hemisphere, but
yeah.
so yeah, so not actually naked, but that, and then the other thing that I think you were saying as well is that all those little steps add up, they compound, right? So if you choose that you're having a little bit more protein rather than a little, a little more carbs, or you choose to go to that walk and you choose to do tai chi, or just choose these small things, all of those things add up, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't feel massive or doesn't need to feel like a massive change. But if you look back over a year, massive change is happening by taking all of those small steps.
Yes. And I think the other thing to recognize is that because we're in this beautiful intersection of midlife and there's all these things that are getting thrown at us, like big things, like things that just didn't happen to us in our 20s. Or you would hear about a friend who maybe lost a parent when they were in their 20s. And it was like, oh, that's sad. And that parent was really young and it was a car accident, it was something dramatic. But it's not happening to like everybody. It was happening to this like one person, a very isolated situation. Now we're in our like 50s and it's like, no, like I can talk to 10 of my members in my community this week, and there's these common situations that are happening amongst all of us. Parent just got sick, kids are having problems with something, breakup, financial issue, their own personal health, and they're having to juggle it all. And what ends up happening, and this is where it's like, I'm coaching them from a business standpoint, is their business stops. And this is
Mm,
where I'm like, okay, I'm not saying you have to like it's like swing this way or swing that way. Oh, it has to be all business and everybody else just has to like not count on you for anything, or you have to be at everyone's beck and call and your business drops. But this is where I work with my clients around how to create more of that evergreen business so that the reality is at that midlife intersection, it can be a really beautiful time, but also it can be just a very daunting obligatory time where it's like you feel like you have no control over what's going on in your life because there's all these other things that are coming your way. And especially if you've been a leader in your family, a leader in your community, people are going to count on you, the oldest child, whatever. Like, you're going to be the responsible one to look after mom and dad, and your siblings may help out if you have that infrastructure in your family, or they may not. And families are dispersed. But I think this is something that seems to be continually blindsiding us as
hmm
midlife women. And I think we just need to be a little bit more prepared. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad or, to say something diminishing, because I'm in it too right now. But I think that's where it's like whenever I just take those small iterative steps, I know that it's not all imploding. And, because that's where my brain goes, right? We go into that
Right.
fight, freeze mode. And it's just like, oh my God, my whole life is just imploding. It never used to be like this. Everyone was just like fine. And I could control all these things. I could manage all these things. And now it feels like you can't. But the reality is you can if you just get back to connecting with your body one step at a time, one step at a time. It doesn't have to be this like radical, like, oh, I'm launching my business today and it all has to be amazing by Friday. It's like,
Although it feels that way sometimes, right?
because we're just applying,
Right. We're
like
just
we're
applying
applying
old
like
rules.
the same fight, flight, freeze with like
Yeah.
mom had a fall and I have to like now swing over there and help mom with her healthcare situation. It's just like all these like, dramatic episodes in our life. And it's like, okay, what you can control is just taking one step like to where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think that's beautiful. So I want to swing a little bit then towards talking about how you do support women in the
Mhm.
business aspect. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
And this is something that I definitely struggle with, is about that whole, I'm a solopreneur.
Hmm.
I use social media for my business.
Hmm.
And yet I want to, for my personal space or other things, like say off of social media. So how do you walk through that with people? Do you put time limits on them? Are they not scrolling for their person? I mean, because it's easy. And again, that is why social media is, I mean, it's not why it's there, but certainly it's addictive. So
Yeah.
how do you guide women in terms of how can we use that for productivity and yet not get sucked into watching
Yeah.
cat videos?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's lots of hacks and lots of tools. And I think if it's difficult for you to get off of social media, then I'll be straight up. I'm probably not the practitioner to work with. It might be something more along the lines of, yeah, like an actual addiction. Again, I'm not saying that from a guilt or calling somebody out on anything. It's more, um, what can I help people with? And I think for me, I've taken a bit of a stance of like showing more behind the scenes of like what I'm doing to make
Mm-hmm.
those transitions and things again that I would have had judgment about myself on, or potentially other women that I would have known. Like, we don't want to talk about breakups. We don't want to talk about our failures. We don't want to talk about our mishaps because we're not following the rule book, the checklist of like what success should look like as a 56-year-old woman, right? And so like I should have like, and I had this thought about myself, like, why can't I figure out a relationship with a man at 56? Like, why can't I like hold a relationship together? Like
Yeah.
blame myself entirely. And, takes two to tango, that whole cliche. But it's just, I punish myself for thinking like, why don't I have like my act together that I can't figure this out? And it's not even about that,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
So the punishing, demeaning side of Brenda would say those things to herself. And then the more forgiving side would be like, it's not about that. It's more the fact that I can just take a step tomorrow and like get back on track. But I think, you know, for me, the biggest thing that I've been able to sort of show my members in my community is that, yeah, I was like, if you talk to me like 18 months ago or 24 months ago, it was like, have an Instagram, get on these channels. I would have like TikTok experts come into my community and talk to people about social media because that's what we just did. And again, it would be like they would see some like 20 something year old like guru online saying it's so easy to make like your first million by just being on TikTok. And then all these midlife women be coming to me going, well, how do you do it, Brenda? And I'm like, okay, well, let's just bring in the experts. Let's figure this out. Um, and that model worked for a little while, but I also was losing faith with it because I didn't necessarily like it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
now my approach is more like, yeah, and it's maybe I'm like, again, it's like maybe a judgment thing of like, I'm not going to say that I'm the business coach that knows everything, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing and even where I'm making mistakes.
Yeah. Which I
And,
appreciate about
where,
you. Absolutely.
yeah, like where I'm like, I make a decision today and I'm going to go after something and it might work and it might not, but I'm not like stopping, not doing it. I'm making a decision because I've gathered my facts, I've got the information, and I'm now moving forward and I'm taking it one step at a time. And I'm just going to let you see where it's happened. So even like, bringing summits to school, I didn't know if it was going to work. And like
Yeah.
I had no idea if it was gonna work. And I thought like initially I thought I would be completely like bomb, right? And I put I didn't have sponsors. I just like did it. I put my own cash forward. I did it all and and then I proved out the model and then I did it again and I did it again and it just continues to be successful. So that's my thing is that you don't always have to do it the way other people have done it. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't fit for you, that's okay. But you need to be able to explore the risk. You need to be able to make the decision. You need to put it out there. And if you're not ready to do that now, I'm going to tell you, it goes back to the whole body piece because you're not grounded here.
Yeah.
And
Because if
so,
you are, then you're willing to take that risk and move and
yeah,
move a little bit. Yeah. So for those, and I just want to just make sure that everybody, because not everybody that listens to this podcast also is on Skool or knows what it
right.
is. So do you want to talk a little bit about your perspective of the difference between like being on Instagram and being on Skool? So just kind of
Yes.
as a foundation, and then talk about how being in community and Skool has furthered your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Skool is a private platform. It's not connected with a social media account. It's not connected with any of like the course creator counts like Kajabi or anything like that. Like the founders, when they started Skool, wanted to build a community platform just for community. Because typically community has always been sort of an afterthought. Like you think of Facebook, like there was Facebook, Facebook ads, and then they added on community, and community like exploded on there. But then it became about ads again. It became more about Facebook. And the one thing that the owners on Skool wanted to make sure happened is that it's about community and it's about your community as a community owner and how you can like facilitate great conversations about things that you're passionate about. Um, the nice thing about Skool is there's no ads, right? So it depends if you have a hobby plan, which is a $9 a month plan, or a pro plan at $99. If you have the hobby plan, which I would recommend to anybody that wants to start a community, just start with a $9 a month hobby plan. Like you spend more on coffee a week, right? So like just try it out and bring together 10 friends that like to talk about, I don't know, perennial gardening. I mean, like the number one school community right now is pickleball. And,
Right, right. I think that's
so
amazing.
it's,
That's amazing.
so it's, and then the number three communities, like number one is pickleball, number two is AI. Go figure. I mean, like it's a hot topic. And then number three is calligraphy. These two women out of Australia that don't want to see calligraphy die as
Right.
like, a writing practice. So, like what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? Don't worry about like, oh, I need to be like Brenda, a business coach or whatever. No, like just what are you interested in? And it doesn't even have to be like, well, I was an accountant in my corporate, so it has to be something with bookkeeping or financial management. Like, what do you love doing? Do you love like renovating bathrooms? It could just be about that.
Right.
And find like 10 friends, colleagues, people in your network that want to talk about renovating bathrooms or pickleball or perennial gardening and start a community. And then the beauty of it is that you don't get ads. You can just continue to talk to these people. They have friends too. Who do you know that loves perennial gardening? Oh, 10 other people, bring them to our community. And then, it's like, then people are going to say to you, well, Brenda, like, what are your like favorite ways of like planting perennial bulbs or whatever? And it's like, oh, well, here's my course on that.
Yeah.
Come into premium and I can train you on perennial gardening and how to set up your garden or rip up your garden, like, I don't know, make it all pink and purple. It's like you can go and then monetize it, but just
Right.
like build your community. And you're a great example of that because I think you had a community first, like that was all about monetizing.
Hmm.
And then, you built another community all around joy. And you just brought
Yeah.
in people that wanted to talk about bringing more joy into their life. And you grew it like in a matter of weeks to like over 200
Hmm.
people, like
Hmm.
in days even.
Yeah. Right. Right. And I think, yeah, to your point, it's one, finding something that, and passion, that word gets thrown around all the time, but find something that you're really interested in
Mhm.
and you talk to your best friends about all the time, or you just talk to people about all the time. You're
Yeah.
the go-to person for whatever that is. Yeah, be that go-to person and bring it to school. And I think the interesting thing for me, and I think there's a balance between doing things online and then doing things in real life as well. But it is such a beautiful thing to have this community on Skool, again, where there isn't any
Mhm.
ad, there aren't any ads, there isn't any pressure really, and you don't have to monetize necessarily right away, or ever. But you find these beautiful people throughout the world. And I feel like I actually have friends. I have friends in Bali now. So the
Yeah.
first time I go to Bali, I definitely have someone there that I could look up, or in Canada or in France or wherever that is. And so it's this beautiful way of
Mhm.
making the world a little bit smaller, and also paving the way. If you want to have some of the discussions in real life, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Or you can stay online if you want to. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
And
I love that.
I think the other thing too is that I mean, like I think social media when it first started off was about community, right?
Yeah.
Like, and but now it's all about content consumption. And it's just, and again, AI is generating a lot of that content.
Yes.
And so before Instagram, like if we talk about Instagram specifically, it used to be for photographers. Like people would go out and like want to be the next Ansel Adams, right? So you post your stuff on Instagram. And you used to go there. Like I used to be like, oh, should I go on Instagram? Like I'm not a photographer. And then, then it became a little bit more mainstream. And now it's just all generated through AI. Like majority of it is AI generated. So the nice thing about Skool is that you don't have to worry about posting photographs. Like, first of all,
Right.
like none of your posts have to have a photograph of you, like, or a cafe latte, like a picture of a beautiful, like architected cafe latte
Correct.
at the coffee shop or anything. Like, you just post what you want to post, and you can have, like you said, authentic conversations with people. There's no ads, no one peppering you. No, like, I mean, yes, there's sometimes spammers that will get in and stuff like that, but no one like pitching you, selling you stuff. So it's just, and then as if you want to monetize, it's actually really easy to sell because you're having great conversations with people. It's not even selling. It's just like, oh, hey, I have something for you that might help. Are you interested? You know,
Absolutely.
and then it
No, go
goes
ahead.
from,
Sorry.
no, I was just saying, and then like the sales process is just more like, because you're connected with your audience and you're having all these great conversations, it's like, okay, I have something that might help you out with that. Are you interested?
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, it just feels like a seamless part of the conversation. And again, just like you would tell your best friend about what's going on and that you would do that there as well. So let's talk a little bit, because I'm curious about this as well, about the summits. So that's something that you have. So for those of you who have a community, this might be take some notes next, or else join Brenda's community. And we'll talk about that at the end too. But like, what are you doing? How did you get I mean, where's the inception idea? And then how did you make it kind of your own? Because clearly you are a leader kind of in running summits and on Skool.
Thank you. I still sort of say that I'm like novice at it because there are some really good colleagues of mine out there that run summits off of Skool and are like the summit queens, and they do like a phenomenal job. And I've been in their summits or bundles, as some people call them, um, but basically virtual events, and they do like a phenomenal job. And there's lots of times people also give me feedback too, and they're like, "Oh, did you know that so and so does this off of Skool and they do this with their summit?" I'm like, "Yes, thank you." And that's the beauty of it. Like you can take that feedback, you can take some of it, or you can just like nod and be like, "Well, thank you very much." And this is how I do my summits.
Right.
But one of the things I noticed is when people were running summits that I was a part of, is that it always felt like this sort of like isolated event, and then you had to sell to people afterwards. So yes, you would generate all these leads into your business. Leads mean like people that are interested in like, again, having that same conversation with you. There's something that you've put out there. I like the whole collaborative piece about it with people that I used to summits with, women coming together and like, around a common topic and common audience, and then sharing our knowledge and experience. And I thought that was great from a branding standpoint. It got you into new audiences. But the one thing that I always saw with the host is they did all this work on the back end and they got nothing for it. They got no revenue. And I would sit sometimes some of them would be very generous with their time and offer like a debrief session, like, hey, Harold, this is how my summit went. And I would ask them questions like, so how did you organize it? How did you do this? And I'm like, okay, well, I paid for my ads. And I'm like, so did you get sponsorship dollars? And they're like, oh yeah, maybe like $500 in sponsorship. I get $10,000
Hmm.
in sponsorship. And I was just like, okay, so you're getting like a few pennies literally, because an ad campaign to run that many leads would cost you probably $5,000 to $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not actually. They're like, no, we would just get a bit of sponsorship dollars. We'd run a little bit of ads, maybe bring in like, 500 people. So they were doing all this work over 3, 4, 5 days. Some of them even like 8 days of like being live. And they would literally bring in maybe like after all expenses paid, all that sort of stuff, like $800, under 1,000. And I'd be like, wow.
that's a big generous donation to the universe that they were making,
Exactly.
right?
And I'm just like, okay. And then they would have to go now sell their offers. So then like this was just an event that kind of like literally did really nothing for them. And then they'd have to go sell their offers. And I'm just like, wow, this seems like a lot of work. And I tried one of them like that. And I was like, yeah, definitely, it's a lot of work. And then I decided on Skool. Well, first of all, let's bring it to Skool, because Skool's like, as soon as I heard from the owners that their mission is to bring in 1 billion users into the
I
platform.
know. Awesome, right?
Yeah. And there's 8 billion people on the planet. So they want 1/8 of them, so I'm like, okay, so they're going to bring in that for me. So that's organic. If I just had like 20 Skool community hosts, because they have their audiences on Skool already, come in and be speakers in my summit, what could that bring? And then I was like,
Right.
and then if I brought in some other people that aren't familiar with Skool, what could that bring? And then, yeah, I'm going to charge sponsorship dollars, but I'm going to have sponsorship levels that equate to a $5,000 to $10,000 ad campaign on Meta. Because I don't want to just do all this work for like 500 people. I want to bring in thousands of people.
Yeah.
And then I want the speakers to be like, oh my gosh, I got like 300 downloads. I got 200 people joining my Skool community. I'm going to come back and do Brenda summits all the time. And I'm going to tell other people to come and do Brenda summits all the time, because
Mm-hmm.
I do
Mm-hmm.
summits off of Skool and I don't get that many downloads.
Yeah.
And so like, for us to bring in 4,000 people into a summit, yeah, it takes work, but then the speakers get the value of it. The members are like, wow, I got to meet and connect with so many people. Because that's the other difference is that normally in a summit, you don't meet people in a
Right.
virtual summit. Like, right,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just get your ticket, you download some freebies, you attend some free sessions, but you don't really network and meet. And they may have
No, you're just
network calls.
consuming.
You're just consuming. And now you're part of a community and people are like connecting and engaging. And then they're like, oh, I want to be a speaker at Brenda's next summit. So it just creates this whole energy, this whole vibe. But I think like the big thing for me is like I now actually make money in my summits. So I don't go off and then run an event and then sell something else afterwards. I do, but during the event, I'm actually making money.
Which is
So
fantastic,
yeah,
which is awesome. I love it, and I need to get re-engaged. I was engaged with your community a while ago, and I need to get re-engaged because I love all the things. I love all the things that are coming out of that. So, what advice do you have? Again, let's say I am a woman that I'm listening to this. I don't. I'm working a corporate job. Let's say I'm working a corporate job right now. I am really not happy. I'm trying to listen to my body. So I've started to do some of that internal work already. And I'm ready to do, I know I've got an idea and I'm ready to do something, maybe just on the side to begin with, because I'm not ready
yeah,
to,
sure.
leave my corporate job. Like what advice do you have for that woman?
Yeah, don't start a website. Don't worry about your brand. Um, don't worry about social media. I know every marketing, like, copywriting, bone in my body type of thing is cringing right now. Or people that are listening that come from that space are going like, what? What is she saying to these people? Just go start a Skool community.
Okay.
Start a $9 a month hobby Skool community around something that you're interested in. And again, it doesn't have to be what you're doing in your day job right now. So you could be a nurse, an accountant, a school teacher. Doesn't necessarily mean to start a school community for school teachers. Like do something that you're just like really passionate about doing. And that maybe is a little bit of that vision work. So go do some tune up around the body, do some vision work. Like if you had no obligations right now, like you didn't have to worry about where your mortgage was coming from or any of that, what would you love to be doing with your time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I would love to be able to take like women to, I don't know, um, to the south of France every summer or something like that. So then
Yeah.
start a community about the south of France and doing
Right.
like walking trips in French towns in the south of France. And like, do you know 10 other women that would love to talk about that? And then reach out to them and say, hey, I'm starting a community on Skool. And every week we're going to have a call and we're just going to talk about discovering new towns in the south of France. Are you
Yeah.
interested? Yes, sign me up. Okay, awesome. And when you're in that community, will you also post about the last trip you did to France or, post your pictures or show us like a hiking route that you took to take you from one town to the next or a cool like day trip that you did? Yes, yes, I've got all that stuff. Okay, great. Join my community. And then you get that going. And it doesn't have to be, because I think you're a living case of this, like months and months of doing this. Like it could be like a couple weeks. And it's like, great. Now, do you know 10 other people too that would like to talk about France every week? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know 10 people for sure. Great. Grab your affiliate link and bring them into my community.
Yeah.
And
I
then you
think
just
that
and you just go from there.
and I think, yeah, and I think exactly what you said, Brenda. And I think it is, and I think you alluded to this, don't overthink it. Just
Yeah,
do it. Just
just
do
do
it.
it.
And if you have 10 people for the next 2 months, great. You have 10 people that are talking about something that you're interested in talking about anyway.
Yes. And
So
they're
I
going to ask you questions and then you're going to be start percolating because you're curious and you're entrepreneurial and you'll be like, I have something for you for that. I can build something for you for that. And then you start thinking about your brand and your messaging and da, 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 da. Like, I know it sounds backwards compared to like traditional business of starting up a business. You need to have a business plan and you need to have your like brand figured out and all this sort of stuff and your logo and oh, just leave that. Start a Skool community around something that you're just completely passionate about that you could literally talk about on the back of a napkin, right? And just go.
yeah,
The
and
rest
I
will
will
come.
say, yeah, and absolutely. And I will just say, yes, I started my community last August. I now have a published book because I started the community. And
Yes,
granted, some of those things were percolating in my head. Of course, they were before that,
for
but
sure.
it was because of being able to talk about it freely within this Skool community that all of a sudden I was like, oh, I just need to write this down on a piece of paper and just
Yeah.
go. So
And
you
I'm sure
did
people were
that.
giving you chapters, right? They were giving you paragraphs and chapters and helping you think about, because like, I don't know, someone's showing up and I could see some of the posts that were going there, people saying, oh yeah, this is what I did on the weekend that brought me joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's just
I
like,
use some of them in my book. I'm like, and I quoted some people about just how joy in community and how collective joy can help, and that when we're not feeling joyful, joy is still always available. And so you just need
mm,
to know those places where you can go get a little hit if you need one, right?
yeah.
Um, so what are some of the things too, Brenda? So we've talked about people that are not in the community, but thinking about reflecting about your community, are there some themes in terms of questions that women are asking in your community? And I keep saying women because you focus mainly on
Yeah,
midlife
I
women.
focus mainly.
But
Yeah, and people always ask me like, why do you just focus on women? And I have men that always ask me that question. None of the women ask me that. Always men ask me like, I'm
they
like,
want to feel
because every
included.
CEO that I worked for in my years of corporate was a man. So it's like
Yeah.
I needed to like, sit on the other side of the table. Um, so the questions that women are generally asking in my communities is how now that I've grown my communities to the size that I'm at, like how have you done that? And like how can I do that? And what does that look like? So I think that's the big factor. The other thing is that even if they're growing their communities, is like how can I get the engagement that I need so that people will buy things that I have in there? Like
Mm-hmm.
making that shift from like free to paid is a big question that people have because selling may not come naturally to you, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
didn't come from sales or worked in the sales department in your past company or marketing or something like that, so it might not come naturally to you. So you may need to get some more skills in that area. But not always. Sometimes it's just listening and then again providing them the tools. But I think that's usually sort of like the biggest thing is like how do I scale it up? How do I monetize it so that it feels like more easy for me? Um, but again, I think a lot of it is also unwiring a lot of the sort of guru training, as I call it, not to insult people, that we've been exposed to over the last like 5 to 8, 10 years online. Like even some of the big guns out there, like the Amy Porterfields, the Jenna Kuchers, they're dropping some of their traditional programs right now, and they're changing it because of the landscape of social media. They got most of their people through social media, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not working for them anymore.
Yeah.
And so, they're looking at different models, different approaches, which is fine and good on them to do that. They also have millions of dollars and large teams to be able to figure these things out. Again, for the average solopreneur or the woman that you talked about that's still in their corporate job and hasn't necessarily retired yet or left it to start their business, where do you start? And I'm just like, hobby plan on community, $9 a month.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact too about your community, Aligned AF, is that one, you just alluded to the fact that, these other gurus have, or people have large teams. Well, we all can have large teams if we join your
Oh,
community because that
sure.
is yes, maybe they're not doing the work for us, but they are those, there are those people then within your community
Yeah.
that you can tap into to learn from, to listen to form your own tiny little group or to have that support so that because often we feel or we can feel isolated when we're trying to start a business, but to be able to tap into the beautiful women that are part of your group,
Mhm.
it's all there if you take the time to ask the question and to reach out and engage.
Yeah, and that's why I also love summits is that I get to collaborate with all these different women. In my last summit, we had over 70 speakers. So I get to collaborate with all these women, learn about their businesses. People are asking me questions. Oh, like, do you know someone who's an expert in, notebook LM? I'm like, yeah, Monica's an expert. She's talking next week in our summit for an hour and she's going to go through all this deep dive stuff. Now, Monica has just joined my community because she's like really enjoyed the whole summit experience and how I've been growing my Skool community, that she wants to learn how I'm growing my Skool community because she wants to grow on Skool. But I brought her in to be a speaker. Now she's been a speaker in my summits for the last 3 times. And she's like, yeah, my business is changing. And the way I used to grow my business isn't working for me now,
Mm-hmm.
life wise, as well as like business wise. And I want to learn from you on what you're doing. And I'm like, great. But that's how it starts, right? Like you just start collaborating and then it's very backwards compared to what we've been learning about. Before it was like build your brand, build your offers, go sell them, on social media. And now it's like, no, build a community, engage that community and then create something that they want. Your community will tell you. I want apples. Get me apples.
100%. And I think maybe even, and you said this at the beginning, the step before that is one, listen to your body, and then
Yes.
and then I think the same thing. So the listening kind of through line, listen to your body, but then listen to your community
Yeah.
as well, right? You don't
Yeah,
have to
for
have
sure.
all of the answers. And maybe you shouldn't. And as with the advice that I think I'm hearing from you is
Mhm.
one, not only don't you have to have all the answers to start, don't. You shouldn't have all the answers to
Yeah,
start
like
because you're
don't
going to get them from your community.
exactly. Don't like sit on the sidelines, keep searching for the checklist and the answers. And yeah, that is the through line for this whole thing is like listen to your body because maybe you forgot listening to her. So tap into it, and that's where you're going to find like your inner knowing, your passion. Like, what was that little thing that, like, when people were asking you at 8 years old, what did you want to do with your life? But you followed somebody else's checklist or something, right? Like, you wanted to be an artist. So start an art community, right? And it doesn't have to be like, well, I'm the best artist and now everyone should listen to me. No, I'm thinking about getting into art or I'm thinking about getting into photography. Who are 10 people that I know that are also thinking about getting into photography? Do you guys want to learn this all together? Do you want to be beginners together in my community?
Yeah. And what a beautiful thing that would be. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I have so many good nuggets from today, but are there other things, Brenda, that we didn't talk about today or other pieces of, besides listening to your body and then listening to your community and just doing it? Is there anything else that you're like, oh, I really wish women in midlife would know X?
Oh, well, for me right now, I'm like kind of going down. This is where it's like personally down this path of like it's okay to be alone. And that alone to me is like it's okay to be in my community because actually like every day when I go into school, like there's somebody that is like always lifting me up.
Mhm.
Always, like every day. Like if I'm like feeling not great about myself, um, there's always somebody in my community. I can just like post something, comment on something, and someone comes back. Like everyone is just I don't know what it is on Skool. Like I do know it's basically how they've structured it, but it's just like it just feels good every time I go in there. Excuse me. And like rarely, rarely, rarely out of like 356 days, like I get like a bad feeling about it, but most of the time it's always a good feeling. And so then when I come back to like when I'm not in school and I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to say like real world because like school is real,
Sure.
is, my natural inclination is to think and some people have even said, like, are you gonna start dating again? And I'm like, no, I'm actually okay being alone right now. Like, I'm totally fine being alone because I'm not lonely. I'm just not in a relationship and, or looking for my next life partner to fill that like void. Like there is no void. Like it's actually like school's kind of filled that up for me.
Hmm. Hmm. I love that. I think that's beautiful. And it is about um I think we can define relationships in and community in so many different ways. And
Hmm.
going back to something you said at the beginning, that as Gen X women, we should have a partner because that was just something that was there or put on us, I think.
Hmm.
But that can be filled in so many different ways. And even when, if you are in a relationship, thinking about like, okay, that person isn't filling all of the things, nor should they, because I don't want to fill all of the boxes for my
No,
partner either,
yeah.
right? That it is that we need to be in the community. And I do think that school is a beautiful place to be in community.
Yeah. So, I mean, my last message would be if you have gone through a breakup or you're going through a divorce or you've been there and you're like, yeah, I don't know, you're 4 years out of your divorce and you're thinking like I'm alone and join a school community.
Serious, and we both can vouch to that. So, well, I really just appreciate your time today, Brenda. I think this is great.
Thank you.
How can people find you? What is the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram for mainstream, like you'll find me there at it's Brenda Rigney and then Skool. So I have three school communities. Um, yeah, and two of them are free, so it's just really easy to join. And you can find me on Skool. You can look me up, Brenda Rigney. I'll share my links with Rachel and then
Yeah,
find me there.
perfect. Yes, I will put all of that in the show notes so that you know how to connect with Brenda. And I do hope that you get more people or continue to grow your communities and share all your beautiful wealth with us in terms of experiences and in terms of how you um, coach women in such a way that supports them and makes them feel fulfilled and makes and builds them up. I certainly have felt that in your community. So thank you for all that.
Thanks.
Thank you for all that you do. And
Thank you.
for everyone else listening, thanks so much again, Rachel from Joy Unfiltered. Remember, I am celebrating you today and every day. So have fun, live well, enjoy.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rachel.